I think many law firms are beginning to get comfortable with having their employees work outside of the office. Um,
Yeah.
do
Some
you
are
believe
comfortable, some are being pulled into it, scraping the chalkboard as they get down. But yeah.
Yeah, and there's the whole pros and cons list of, do you want the best employees or do you want the most available employees? And I'm sure we could have a cauldron of debate about that. But do you believe it's possible to maintain a high performance legal team with some or all of the employees working remotely?
The short answer is absolutely. The longer answer, of course, because I'm a lawyer, is it depends. The reason I say yes is there are no shortage of fantastic examples of fully remote companies. They tend to be more in the tech sector. But even pre-COVID, Basecamp is a company that was well known in tech. They actually wrote a book called Remote, and the book predates COVID. And it's all about how do you build a remote first company. And now post-COVID, people are like, ooh, what about this remote thing? Well, it's been around for a while. The key is, and the reason I say it depends, is that a lot of law firms are not built in a way that allows them to make this pivot easily. And when I say built, I mean their entire culture is just a little off. And the problem, most common theme I see when people are trying to pivot to hybrid work or remote work is that in the old days, when everyone was in the office, serendipitous interactions were the way things got done. Hey, I'm a little confused by that email. Well, I'll probably see that person walking through the hall. I don't know what to do. I can tap an associate on the shoulder. Career advice, over lunch or happy hour, talk to some partners. When you take away the serendipity of the office, then you realize how disorganized and chaotic all those systems were. And frankly, those systems advantage people who understand the hidden networks of law firms, which tend to be people who look like me, white guys. Like, I tend to do pretty well in chaotic, ambiguous environments. I got confidence up the wazoo. I can go and talk to a partner, whatever. Not everyone feels comfortable doing that. So you take away that serendipity. Now what we see is remote work brings out an organization's lack of organization. So if you fix that problem, if you get more organized in how you run your teams, those same practices in my book about running great teams, they apply whether you're remote or not. The difference is that if you are remote, you really, really need those practices because you can't use Band-Aids like serendipity to fill the gaps. And increasingly, the problem is even if you force people back to the office because you want that serendipity again, it's not happening. People go to the office now with a different mindset. They go to check in and check out. They do their work, they go home. I used to stick around for happy hours. I used to get lunch with people all the time. Nowadays, people go in the office like, I'm here, I got this commute. I want to get out of here as quick as I can. So we're not going to go back. Even if you're in the office, you're not really going to go back to that culture. In other words, whether you're going remote or not, you've got to adopt a mentality that puts structured team building approaches front and center, or you're going to lose your culture altogether.
I think that's the best, most thought-provoking answer I've ever heard to whether or not anybody believes that you should go remote, because people will just say, yeah, it's more efficient, it's this, it's that. But that takes into account the actual human aspect of why we enjoyed working in the same place in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and imagine if a major law firm said, okay, Ben, we can do it. You said anybody can do it. We're going to do it tomorrow. They will come crashing to a halt. Mentorship is going to go away. Feedback is going to go, all these little things, teaching each other, because they never were structured about it. So what I tell law firms is be realistic. If you are not ready to invest in the training and the infrastructure and the accountability for great management and running great teams remotely, then you should probably not go remotely. Tomorrow, you will crash. So associates will say, well, wait a minute. Didn't the last 2 years show that we're great remote? This is the most common objection I hear about going back to the office. They're like, well, we did so well. We had the best years ever in the pandemic. The economy was great. We did great. Why do we need this? But unfortunately, the reality is the reason a lot of associates did well is the law firm had years of momentum going into the pandemic. It's like the way that our team works. We know each other. We know the managers know the associates and so on. If everybody knows each other well, you get through it. But as turnover happens and you get more people in, now that culture doesn't have momentum to run on anymore. You need a more systematic approach. So whatever you're doing in the pandemic, like whoever you are, wherever you are, corporate, law firm, wherever, if you got through the pandemic and thought everything was fine, don't expect, I'll go back to the office a little bit, it'll continue. You've still got to have a structured approach because that culture you love is going to fade around you with this new sort of post-COVID mindset. You've got to put in the work.